Hey guys, welcome back to Aurelia. We are back in the industrial zone, which we started building back in episode 8. Today we are going to detail it, expand it just a tiny bit, and make it look really nice. I'm gonna keep it a bit shorter today, I'm just gonna explain what and why I built, and as always, there's some nice cinematics as well. So let's go. Alright, so in here this is some kind of a expansion of the industrial zone and also the lock area that we have built last time. Now, I really wanted to build some kind of a, I'm not sure if I should call it a dock, but some kind of a small, like, unloading area for those little river cargo ships. So that's exactly what I'm doing right here. Now, maybe these ships in the future, who knows, are completely automated, so it's not going to be that big of a problem for them to navigate into this area, who knows. But anyway, in here I wanted to do some kind of a, like I said, little offloading place for some cargo that's going to be transported from, up the river, up the stream, I suppose. And it's going to be unloaded into these little like rails or onto these rails. And it's just going to follow some few hundred meters right into the factories. It's going to go completely underground right from this area. I'm just using a lot of procedural objects in here, obviously, to create some kind of a like an underground portal or something, and just that little train to kind of measure the necessary heights. So this area is going to be actually very, very small. I don't really want to call it like a big cargo harbor, which is obviously is not. We are going to build a bigger, much bigger cargo harbor further down the river underneath the dam, where all the cargo is going to be unloaded onto trains and transported into the industrial zone and the rest of the city as well. But that's something for like some really, really future episodes. I don't really have any plans for it right now. It's just like an idea that I would like to do that in the future. So like I said, this is going to be just a small, very, very small place with some tiny details, as you can see here. A lot of these containers in here, obviously, just, so that they are waiting here for, to be either loaded on the ships or maybe put into the factories or something like that. Or maybe they are just empty containers, who knows. And just putting down some of these, well, actually just this one, like administration building or maybe some control building where some automatic controls are located, maybe for ships or cranes or stuff like that. And obviously, the main administration as well for this little place in here. So definitely not big, kind of small, and lightly detailed, although the detailing is probably enough, at least how it needs to be. So using procedural objects in here to kind of, create like a concrete area around it, to completely enclose it with concrete. And then we obviously need to make way for these power pylons or something like this. So I created these concrete blocks in here where the pylons are going to be located. And I'm just copying these blocks, these cubes, or how would you call them, and placing them underneath the rest of the pylons as well. And this is how it looked like. Very, very short build actually, and it's just a tiny little expansion of the industrial zone. And like I said, the cargo that's going to be put on the railroad here, which is just like a really, really tiny railroad, just a few hundred meters from this place right inside the factories. And now we are actually in the zone and we are doing the detailing like I promised. So at first I really wanted to do some bigger detailing and kind of fill all those empty spaces. Again, I think I already mentioned this in the previous episode. I have absolutely no idea what is being made in this industrial zone. So some of these pipes would probably indicate that this might be some kind of like an oil something, like a refinery maybe, but obviously it doesn't really look like a refinery, so that's not exactly it. So this place is just going to be some generic industry with some generic looking props and decorations and stuff like that. Now this is actually something quite interesting. This little place, I think I already mentioned that in the previous episode, at least for this industrial zone, that this industrial zone, how we are going to make it today, is not really going to be the final state of the entire thing, because there is not enough population in the city. You can see it right now in the bottom screen that there's just above 1,100, sorry, 10,000 inhabitants in the city. So that's definitely not enough to support the workforce for this entire industrial zone, plus all those offices obviously inside the main city. So we are going to make the zone today. We are going to detail pretty much like one end of it and leave the rest of the industrial zone kind of unfinished. Because later I definitely want to go back to this place and build not just the continuation of the industrial zone, but also the harbor, as I already mentioned before, and some maybe more futuristic looking part of the industrial zone using some more futuristic buildings. And who knows, maybe, you know, in the future, in our real future, there might be some new buildings posted in the workshop for this particular, you know, like feeling of the industrial areas. So who knows, maybe we are going to do something completely different in the future for the expansion, like a bigger expansion of this zone, but not now, not yet. So that little place, now let's go back to what I actually did a few minutes in this time lapse. I was doing like a decoration of that dead end highway, and I kind of wanted to have it there because that highway is definitely going to be like made to work, and it's just going to continue probably towards the harbor area, which I said before is going to be underneath the dam. But not now. I just made it detailed so that it's like a dead end and it's going to be planned for future. Now, this is almost the area which is kind of on the opposite side of the industrial zone. We are not really going to be in this particular place and detailing it that much. So I'm just doing like the necessary highway connections. I don't think that after today's episode I will have all the highway connections. I think I only built a few in here, the previous one and this one as well. In here I'm just using this like a procedural object, the tank, the water sewage something tank, because it's perfectly round, to kind of measure or see how I need to build that highway. I will later destroy it. It's not going to be there. So this is the highway connection that's basically going to serve the area of the industrial zone on the other side of those tracks. So on the opposite side from the passenger train station, I suppose. Although it's not exactly completely finished when it comes to the highway connections. But like I mentioned again in the previous industrial zone episode, I kind of don't really want to do everything absolutely right when it comes to like traffic and all that. And I just want to see. How it's going to work. If it's going to be enough, if the traffic is going to be fine, then I will just keep it. And I think I even mentioned this phrase, like the good enough approach, that I'm just trying to do the good enough approach here. Basically means that I'm just going to build it how I think it's going to look best. And if it's going to work, then it's good enough. And I'm just going to keep it without trying to do it like super efficient or, you know, like just best how it could be. Right, so we are now moving on. Well, we already moved to this area, which is like the start of the zone, I suppose. There's going to be two main entrances into the zone. First one is obviously the highway, which is probably going to be the most heavily used connection inside the zone. And this one is going to be like the surface connection, I suppose. Well, actually, there's three connections. The highway, this particular surface connection, and then the other slightly less used connection, which is right next to the garbage area, the garbage collection areas. And that particular place that we were doing just a few moments ago would be some kind of a maybe like local workers entrance, I suppose, the ones that would not arrive by the train. Now, speaking of the train and speaking of passengers going into the zone by the train, they also need to be transported into the rest of the zone using these tiny buses. Now, these are the Ollie buses, which are apparently like a real-life concepts, or maybe also like a real-life functioning tiny autonomous buses in real life. And I definitely wanted to do them in here. I mentioned that before, that I wanted to do these in here, and now we are finally having them here. I also have some nice cinematics at the end of this video where I am showing the operation for these buses, so definitely stay tuned for that. I really like those tiny little buggers. They look really awesome in the city. Unfortunately, they don't have very high capacity, but you can just make a lot of them on one line, and it's just looking amazing. Just, you know, looking them go so tiny and stuff. It's really nice. It's really nice. So after doing all that, after putting the buses there, it kind of I kind of started doing the tiny decorations, and that means decals pretty much on every concrete surface inside the zone, and obviously some more detailing. Now, I'm not exactly using that many different props and, you know, all kinds of decorations in this industrial zone. I'm mostly using the trailers, some tanks, fuel tanks, or just generic looking tanks for whatever might be in there. Now, obviously, we have the big train yard in the middle of the industrial zone, and that's obviously a place for trains, obviously. So I picked up these futuristic cargo trains from the workshop. They come in many varieties. They actually have even the prop version as the live version. Unfortunately, you won't see the live version just yet because there are no connections from this industrial zone just now, but the prop versions of those are already inside the zone. Now, also one important thing regarding the railroad, I obviously had to put up the gantries to hold the cables, because for this particular railroad, I think they do have their own gantries or cable holders or whatever they're called, but I unsubscribed from it actually, so that it would not be in the game, because I didn't exactly like it, and I definitely wanted to put my own across multiple tracks as well. Now we are putting down trees, which are obviously very important. Again, try to say two words at once here. And I chose these trees that I already used in the previous episode to kind of blend it more in with the overall area. Now, because I'm not using the tree unlimiter mod, I am not putting trees anywhere else on the entire map, basically. I'm just putting the trees like right around the industrial zone so that they would be visible and would look nice if you look in detail into these places. Now, the reason for me not using the unlimiter mod is because I am using the other one that's in conflict with this one. I'm not sure how it's called. It's the mod that lets you put trees up and down with Move It, and I need that a lot more in the main city because I am doing all those fake surfaces that I obviously need to put trees on, so that's the reason for it. It's kind of unfortunate, but it is what it is. Alright, so like I said, kept it a bit shorter to not lose all your attention, but before we go to the cinematics, let me first thank you for watching today's episode. We are going to go back to the main city next, as we have a lot of work to do there. If you liked today's episode, leave a like, share it, leave a comment, and if you're new here, feel free to subscribe to the channel and watch some older episodes as well. Also guys, if you have Twitter, do follow me there, as I am posting some screenshots from the game, some updates, and all the other Twitter stuff. Thanks again guys, take care, and goodbye.